Alright, what we're doing today is we are going to check compression on the Mercedes, and since I've got all the injectors out, this makes for an easy time to do this. I adjusted the valves on this thing. It's probably almost been 10,000 miles, so it's getting close to needing to be done again. So we may do that as well. I'll have to order a valve cover gasket. I hadn't planned on doing it, but when I got to thinking about it and how long it had been, we may go ahead and do that, and we'll see what the compression is, and that may give us a hint if they need adjusting. So Mercedes recommends every 12,000. When I adjusted these, they were pretty far off. They're probably pretty close right now, but it definitely is getting close to needing it again. So we may do that while the injectors and all that are out. Make you getting to the valves easier without the injectors and the injector lines. Make for a much easier job. So what we're going to do is go ahead and pull all of our paper towels out that I stuffed into the cylinders when I pulled the injectors out. And this, we may not get 100% accurate reading on this. I'm not going to put new heat shields in, so they may leak around the heat shields a little bit. I guess we'll see. We might end up having to move heat shields around between cylinders, maybe, if we got one that doesn't seem like it's sealing well. The compression tester set I'm using is this Harbor Freight item 62594. It comes with the adapter for Mercedes. Comes with the adapter that goes in the it goes in where the injectors go. So on some diesels, you go in through where the glow plugs are. With this set and on this engine, you go in where the injectors go. So you would have to pull the injectors. I don't know if you had a set that used where the glow plugs go, if you could even get it in there, back there. Maybe some of these up front you could. That's a tight squeeze back there. So we're just gonna tighten this down in here. We'll start with number 1. We'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've got this adapter that threads in here. That should be good. So thread the adapter in. And then into the adapter, you've got different fittings. So it looks like we'll take this fitting. Yep. I'm gonna go put some thread sealant on it, and I'll go ahead and tighten this down into that adapter, and then we'll continue on. Alright, so I've got that in there. One thing I forgot to mention, I think, is that these vice grips are holding the stop lever in the stopped position to hopefully limit the amount of fuel that the injection pump is going to be pumping out. It's probably still going to pump some fuel out, but at least it's not pumping a ton. You know, this should cut off fuel, but it may not. I've got it pushed down as far as I can get it. It's pretty much all the way in the stop position, but we may still end up with some fuel coming out of the injection pump. And I went ahead and put some paper towels. Actually, I had the paper towels already over it to keep dirt from getting in there, but those paper towels will help keep fuel from spraying everywhere. But we're probably still going to end up with a diesel mess here. So we've got everything ready on cylinder 1. We just need to plug in our gauge now. It's got a quick connect fitting and a swivel adapter. on the end, which is nice. So we're going to just kind of get this down in here and connect it, and let's see. We'll put it right there, gets it where y'all can see it, and let's see what this thing does. Mercedes specs, I think it's between 320 and 350 for a brand new engine. I don't know what the minimum spec is on it, what Mercedes says their minimum is, but we know between 320 and 350 is a brand new engine. So let's see what it reads. We've got 300, and Mercedes also recommends this being done on a hot engine, warmed up engine. Of course, we've got the injectors removed already, so there's no way we're gonna heat this engine up. But I'm happy with 300. To me, that's still a good, healthy engine. Let's see if we get 300 all the way across, because that's going to be more important than just high compression numbers. You know, even is important. So let's move this over to number 2. So let's write that down. I've got a scrap piece of paper here. We're going to write number 1 at 300. And it was 300 right on the dot. Actually, I almost said I would be happy with 300, and I didn't, because I didn't want it to be like 250, and then like, well, but I don't know what the minimum spec is. I'll look it up. I'll look it up before the end of this video, and we can compare that. So let's move on to number 2. I have no idea how many miles are on this engine. We're just snugging those down, or snugging it down. All right, let's go for number 2. Number 2 is a little better. Let's see, what is this? I didn't even look to see what the notches are on this. Let's see, 20, 30, 40, are they 20s? Let's see, 1. Little pointer. Let's see, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. So each mark is 20. So I'm gonna call that, it's just above the 20. I'd say it's halfway between, so I'm going to call it 130 or 330. From where I'm looking at it right here, I'm going to say that's 330. Is that what y'all think? So number 2, we're going to call 330. So that's a 10% difference between 1 and 2. It might have been closer to 325, but between 325 and 330. I am thrilled with these numbers. We'll see. We could have one that's far off though. It does, when it's cold, it does have a cylinder that doesn't like to hit, but I'm thinking that's going to be a glow plug issue. I don't think that's a low compression issue, but I guess we'll find out. We may recheck number 1 when we're done if it's the lowest. All right, let's see. Can I get this where y'all still see it? Can y'all see that? As we go further back, it's harder to see, harder to position it. As I'm cranking, show how good this oil pressure is on this thing. As I'm cranking, it goes to, as I'm cranking, it goes up to and pegs out the oil pressure gauge. So that one's right at 300 as well. I'm gonna call that, and it's barely at 300. It might be seeping down a little bit up from the gauge, but we'll call it 300, but it may be like 298 or something like that. It's barely 300. We'll call it 300 though. So we've got 300, 330, 300. Yeah, we're definitely starting to make a little bit of a diesel mess. This return line, I think, is pumping fuel. Hopefully, it may have been squirting it in that cylinder right there. You can see though, I mean, this is not an easy process, you know, because you'd have to remove all the injectors. So, you know, if you're looking at buying one of these cars, that's not a feasible thing to do before you buy it. You know, oh, let me remove all your injectors and run a compression test on it. That's, I mean, maybe if it was one that you're paying a lot of money for that was, you know, restored or in perfect shape, maybe they would let you do that, but I paid $400 for this thing. And it seems like it ran well. This one's going to be difficult because of this rod here. Let's see. Come right over here. And put the gauge right there. Well, we're over 300. That one's looking like right at 320. It's at 320. right, we're down to the last one. Will it be in the 300s? I'm hoping so. Yeah, I probably will definitely go ahead and order a valve cover gasket, because adjusting the valves would be a lot easier with the injectors removed. Like I said, they probably don't need it yet because it's only been about 10,000 miles, and like I said, Mercedes recommends every 12,000, but I might as well just go ahead and do it. While it's easy. Because I don't want to be coming back in 2,000 miles and doing it and it be difficult. Let's see. Last one. What do y'all think it's going to be? I'm going to say 300. Maybe 310. Looks like we might have another 330. What is that? That one's a little higher. I'm gonna say that's probably 335. I was almost 340. So we're gonna call it 335. It is past the three. It's past halfway between 320 and 340. So it's definitely higher than 330. So we've got number 1 at 300, number 2 at 330, number 3 was barely 300, but it was at the 300 mark. It just wasn't centered in the 300. If you look, the 300's got a wide mark. It was at the lower end of the 300, but I'm going to still call that 300. It definitely was in the black hash mark. 4 was 320, 5 was 335. So if Mercedes spec'd a new engine between 320 and 350, we have not lost much compression over what, 33 years? So not bad, almost 34 years. So let's see, let me look up and see what the low spec is on these engines. Go ahead and remove this, and I'll look up online and see if I can find compression numbers to see what you would consider, you know, an engine that needs to be overhauled. I don't think a valve adjustment would bring these numbers up any either. I think we are at, you know, I don't think they're out of adjustment enough to affect the compression, because like I said, I adjusted them about 10,000 miles ago, and Mercedes recommends every 12,000, so they're probably not causing any issues. So we're going to put our test, or our compression tester up, and I think we are good to go. I'll put my little paper towels back in there, and let's see what the compression numbers should be. Alright, so did a little quick reading, about 2 minutes worth, and I've seen it where several posts, people saying new they spec, but Mercedes spec between 320 and 350. But I see people saying, you know, that their engines have 360, 380, some over 400. So I really don't know. I don't know if maybe the natural aspirated, maybe they run higher. They probably run a higher compression ratio. I don't know. So I don't know what it's spec'd at new. I do read, I did blah blah blah. I did read that anything above 200, 220 is kind of like the minimum. Anything below 220, you're going to start having issues starting it. And so you know, we're well above that, so I think we've got a good healthy engine. I have no idea, you know, if we're within we're basically within 10%, pretty much 10% of each cylinder. 10% variance is about all you want, and high was 335, low was 300, so we're right there at 10%. Possible a valve adjustment could help it a little bit. Maybe I'll run the test again after I do the valve adjustment, we'll see. But I'm happy with those numbers. I think we got a good healthy engine. You know, it's got great oil pressure and it's got good compression, so this thing should live on for quite a while. Pretty much have solved most of its oil leaks. It doesn't leave any drips. It does drip power steering fluid, but it doesn't really drip oil. The rear main leaks just a little bit, but not enough to drip. So for now, we've got a good, healthy, fairly dry engine that should provide us with quite a bit more service. So this thing should live on. These new injectors, I'm sure, will help it. But I'm very happy with those compression numbers, and I'm glad I've got this little set. I bought it a while back, probably a couple months ago, and just haven't gotten around to using it, and mainly because I knew I was going to have to take the injectors out to do it, and I didn't want to do that until I was ready to rebuild the injectors. So I think I'm just going to throw this in there. I'll write the date on there, and we will keep that with it, and if we ever check it again, we can compare our results. So thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below. If you've got one of these and you've run a compression test, let me know what your numbers are. I'd be curious to know. So thanks.